Welcome, stuck in the catch fence. Joe, you know why I'm excited?
Why, Ryan? Why,
Because
Ryan Peters? Why are you
this
excited?
green flag is like what we're trying to make tonight, some money. We're going to try
Yeah.
to make everybody some money today. We already did in the Busch Light Clash.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we're trying to do it again. Again, welcome to Stuck in the Catch Fence. My name is Ryan Peters. I'm joined with Joe Spillman. Joe, the man who is already on top when it comes to making people money with his 4 out of the top 5 picks, landing in the top 5 for the Busch Light Clash. Joe, you
Right.
have high responsibility. Are you able to repeat for the Daytona
Well,
500?
I would say normally, yes. But as you know, the Daytona 500 is anybody's race. Literally, all you have to do is make the field and stay out of the big one, and you could possibly win that race. So I'm going to give you at least today some bets that if they do finish well, you're going to make a little bit of money. Tell you what I like to do. There's be an article out this morning. I'll let you all find that place where it's going to be at, and kind of go into depth on why I'm thinking who I'm picking here. So it's really the Daytona 500, Talladega. When you talk about these super speedways, Atlanta now, which you and I are going to, you're really looking at so many variables in those races that we may see a first time winner tomorrow. We may see a first time 500 winner. We may see a third time 500 winner. So really there's so many variables in this race that it's kind of like the Super Bowl. If you're going to bet on the Super Bowl, a lot of people bet the prop bets. They bet to have fun. I encourage you to bet the same way in the Daytona 500 or really any super speedway style race, because you just don't know. So if I give you some bet lines today and you throw your house payment up on it, don't come after me. Bet responsibly, but I think I'm hoping to win some money. I'm making these exact same bets that I'm pushing out to you guys tonight. So hopefully we all win some money together.
That's right. Anything you can afford is always a yellow flag.
Yeah.
Always bet what you can do. And the thing I love about betting NASCAR, Joe, I bet it to have fun.
Right.
Not only do I enjoy watching NASCAR, but I literally have a $5 bet that if it wins tomorrow can win me $500. Now tell me that wouldn't be an amazing day.
Oh, it would be. It would be a great day. And I'll tell you what, that's why, and I've said this before, and I talk to people about this all the time. That's why I say betting NASCAR is one of the funnest things you could do, because, if you have 10 extra bucks laying around, at least on DraftKings, you could spread that 10 bucks out over a couple of drivers, and it makes the race more exciting for you. And it really does. When you have money on the line, or potentially you're going to win some big money, with some bets or what you perceive big money. I mean, if you win on plus $10,000 odds, you put $5 down, you make 500 bucks. That's winning big money off $500. And it really does get you into the race, because you're watching every lap, especially if your driver's up there and in position to win, especially in the third stage. You're going to be on the edge of your seat the entire time. And at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, you've only lost $5. So it really makes the race a little bit more exciting. Not that Daytona's not already, but it gives you that much more excitement in the race, and it really is fun.
Yeah, and there's nowhere you can go, Joe, to get a $5 scratch off with a 1 in 40 chance of getting 500 bucks.
Right.
There's just
No,
nowhere else you
exactly.
can do that. And in NASCAR, you can. And we know after one wreck, it might be a 1 in 20 chance to win $500. So on the other side of it, Joe's going to show you the DraftKings stuff so that he can show you the picks that he's going to decide to do. And again, he said he does have an article. Joe, make sure you link that in the description so people can find that as well. If you want to stay tuned with us when it comes to all of our picks that we're going to make and setting lineups and stuff, like always, like and subscribe. That's the number one way to find us. If you hit the bell every time we make one of these videos, it'll pop up. If we make you some money and you want to invest back into us, we have a Patreon that you're free to use as well, and that's also in the description. So my job with you is to jump in and make a FanDuel lineup. So that's exactly what we're going to do first, unless, Joe, you would like to start on the poll.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
I like listening to you give these teams and thinking about it, because it's not something I typically do. This is kind of what you do to have fun. But I think the more and more we talk about it, I think you're talking me into trying this out one of these days.
Well, I am going to do that if this will cooperate real quick. Of course, when we did our test run, Joe, it cooperated just fine. So, like always, technology showing us that. Here we go. So, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to FanDuel. And as you can see, can you see that, Joe?
I can.
All right. So, the first thing you're going to do, if you've never been on FanDuel before, there's this little bitty helmet right here. We're going to click on NASCAR. And again, we did this for the Busch Light Clash. So, there's some things you can do to go ahead and look at that. When it comes to making your lineup, we went over a few things on that. We kind of talked strategy and how we're going to do it. And the fun thing about NASCAR, Joe, every track presents its different opportunity for your strategy.
Right.
Okay. So we're going to play this way differently than how we did the Busch Light Clash. So we're here to make money, and I'm a cheapskate at top of that. So I'm going to look for a $1 entry. I'm going to click that right there. Remember, last time we went on a 5-cent entry and we won 12 cents. So
big day.
It was a big day. It was monumental for our growth as here. And now I'm going to move you guys so I can see enter lineup. And here's where all the action happens. So the first thing you want to know is each driver has its own salary. And that is going to average out to $10,000 per driver. So you're not going to be able to use the top 5 drivers. And Joe, the first thing that I do is I pray for my drivers that I like to do really bad in the duels, because we talked about gaining positions, and there's no better tracks than super speedways to gain positions. Well, as you may know, if you watched last night's show, my driver got wrecked. So I'm going to first go to Kyle Busch, not because I'm a Kyle Busch homer. Normally, I try to keep my heart out of these things because I want to make money. But here you go, 36th position right there. It doesn't get hardly any lower than that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm throwing in Kyle Busch. Because you have to think about it this way. Every time he makes up a spot, he gives you points, okay? And that's the number one way you can make up points, especially on a super speedway, is getting a guy to make up a lot of ground. And Kyle Busch, starting 36, is going to be that guy. So now I'm going to start looking for some other guys. Because I'm going to tell you what right now, Denny Hamlin's going to be hard for me not to put in my lineup. Especially in 18th, that's not too bad.
Right.
There's some spots to be made up there. The only thing that kind of worries me is Toyotas have not been fast this week. But again, it's a super speedway. It doesn't really matter if Toyotas are fast because everybody is driving the same speed when it comes to the tapered spacer. So I'm going to go back down. I'm looking. William Byron's one. I'm going to mentally check off in my mind. 21st. That's pretty good. Ross Chastain, probably not looking right there yet. Tyler Reddick, absolutely not. Austin Cindric, somebody I'm going to keep in mind. He seems to really have a knack at this track. Last year's winner as a rookie. Does pretty well on these. Kyle Busch's teammate, another guy that's won at Daytona, Austin Dillon, 27th. Again, that's a guy I'm going to keep in mind. But I'm going to go down here and I'm going to look for a value driver and somebody that I've talked about multiple times running in this. And Joe, you're going to like this. Starting 39th.
Yeah.
Fastest guy in practice today. I'm going to have to go with Jimmy. At $5,500, you get a 7-time champion. And his quote today made it even better. What's it like being back in the car? Thank God it's a stock car and not an Indy car. So Jimmy Johnson, with that quote of the day, you're in my lineup. So now you look at it, we just saved a whole lot of money. We're now at $11,000 because we put $11,000 in for Kyle and only $5,500 for Jimmy. And a lot of you are wondering, what about these other drivers down here? Ty Dillon's one, Joe, that I would put in.
Right.
In a certain lineup. This is a type of lineup, especially in a tournament, you can put in some drivers and you're going to have money left. That's the hardest thing about FanDuel is having a remaining salary because you're like, I didn't maximize my money. Well, you don't need to maximize your salary. You need to maximize your points. So again, Ty Dillon's one I'm going to really look at later. Now, these guys down here, I have no interest in. Connor Daly could literally barely make it around the track. His car was he equated
Yeah, it
it
was
to
bad.
a motocross car. And the motocross driver had a better out showing than Connor Daly.
Yeah, and
So
he couldn't even see anything. He just knew to turn left at the Sunoco sign.
that nothing will instill confidence in your team than hearing the guy in a $600,000 car at 190 mile an hour going, "Yeah, I just turned left whenever I saw a sign in the turn." So let's go back up, and I already talked about two guys that I really want in my lineup, and that's Denny Hamlin. I'm going to put him in there, and Joe, this guy just finds a way to do it every
Right.
single time, and I'm going to go Joey Logano.
Now, and I will say though, when you're talking about Joey Logano, he's got a $11,500 price tag on him. Now, I know you get points for your win, but you're not going to get many points on him for advancement because he's starting third.
Right. So you're wondering, why would you do that? Well,
Right.
you also get points for leading laps. And I feel like Joey Logano is a guy that can go out there and lead laps because somebody's going to have to lead some laps. And as you know, Joe, if these things go single file, boom, point or half point, half point, half point, half point, half point. You just keep racking those half points up. And with Joey Logano, he could literally lead the first lap being in third place, or he could be going on the outside, tying for it, and leading some laps as well. So, I mean, look at this lineup. You got Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin, Jimmy Johnson, and Kyle Busch, and you still have 9,500 left. That might be the greatest name group of drivers, considering all of them have won a championship besides Denny Hamlin, and Denny Hamlin's won everything but a championship.
Right, exactly. And he can win anything on any given day.
Exactly right. So now I'm going to look at this and I'm going to go, okay, who do I like? And this is probably the hardest pick because Brad Keselowski is never going to be up here except for a super speedway with RFK Racing, and that's not a guy that I'm really looking at. Ross Chastain, there's an argument there. Christopher Bell's a guy I like. I'm not going to choose him. I'm probably looking at somebody like Austin Dillon or Austin Cindric. I think Austin Cindric has speed. I think we've seen the Fords have speed. And another driver in Austin Dillon has shown a propensity to win at super speedways and do really well at super speedways. So, Joe, I'll put the ball in your court. If you were going to go with either Austin Cindric or Austin Dillon, which way would you lean?
Christopher Bell.
You would go see Bell?
Probably, but if we're looking at Austin Dillon and Austin Cindric. I had a problem on the radio tonight, right?
Cinder block?
Yeah. When we called that radio,
I feel like that is like,
when we
I
called
feel like Freudian slip that you're calling him Austin Cinder block because he may be on block. So I might just go Austin Dillon.
I'm like having a mini stroke here. Been doing it all night, I guess. If I'm going to piss,
Lord. Don't piss. Just pick.
If I'm going to pick between Austin Dillon and Cindric, I'm going to have to go with Dillon, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Austin Dillon probably is coming into this race with the exact same setup as Kyle Busch. He didn't do as well in the duels as Kyle Busch, but I think that Kyle Busch has brought a lot to RCR and has brought a lot of knowledge on how they're going to set up their cars, and I think it showed and has shown, and I think that Austin Dillon's going to benefit from that. So I think if you're going to pick Kyle Busch, I would pick his teammate to have a good day as well, because I think, especially in the 500, a lot of times you see teammates linking up. And if Kyle Busch is running up front and he can get Austin Dillon up front, that's going to be a good day for both of them.
Right. And then to go back to Kyle Busch, I'm going to say this. If Kyle Busch was qualified 10th or ran the duels and got 10th, I'm not picking Kyle Busch. I like Kyle Busch as a driver, but realistically on super speedways, he's just never been great. I mean, because he always finds him, even when he's out front, Joe, he gets wrecked. And it's just part of, what's been happening to him on these super speedways. But at the fact that he's 36, only got 3 spots to lose. BJ McLeod is going to be being passed by the pace car before the end of the 14th lap. So, he's going to at least beat him. And the thing that I would say, if you get stuck in this situation, which we're going to enter this lineup, I'm going to show you exactly what I would do if I was stuck between two drivers that I really, really like. So we go ahead and we entered our lineup. let's do this $2 single entry. Let's just go ahead and enter here. And I am going to do the exact same thing since it already has it up there for us. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take out Austin Dillon. And I'm going to put in Austin Cindric. And then I'm going to enter that lineup. That way, number one, you give yourself more options, for that. And if you're like me, you're typically going to come down to 2 drivers, and you don't want to miss on one of them. So you might as well just go ahead and increase your odds and see what ends up happening. So there's our lineups. We got Kyle Busch, Jimmy Johnson, Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, Austin Cindric, and or Austin Dillon.
Yeah.
So that is going to be our FanDuel lineup. We will see how those do. Hopefully we end up making money. If you like that lineup, feel free to use it, and we can tie for first place if you want to switch it up a little bit too and see what you can do to make a lineup. That's the number one way to do it. Again, if you wanted to see all the rules, how to break things down to a more minute level, a more novice level, we have that video for you. We've already done that video for the Busch Light Clash. Go on our videos, and it'll be one of the first things that pop up. But Joe, you're the real money maker, so please take the floor.
Yeah, so we're going to, we looked at FanDuel, and FanDuel in DraftKings, they have a very similar sports book, very similar odds. Some of the odds may be, a little different, but not much. I think FanDuel right now, when we look at it, I think FanDuel has Kyle Larson. So Kyle Larson right now is the favorite to win this race on DraftKings. He's at plus 1,000 odds to win the race. I think on FanDuel right now he's at plus 1,200. So little slight
with
change.
2 other people on FanDuel.
A slight change, and that's probably Ryan Blaney and Joey Logano, who are at plus 1,200 on DraftKings. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at this. And Ryan, if you could see that means everybody else can as well.
Yes, sir. You're 100%.
So this right here is the sports book for DraftKings, obviously. So what you have when you're looking at straight line bets here is these are the racing lines. So right here, Kyle Larson, if you could see my mouse here, Kyle Larson is the favorite to win this race at plus 1,000. He's also at plus 400 to finish in the top 3 and at plus 190 to finish in the top 5. I really like those racing lines because, as you know, a lot of times, your driver might be right there, but they're within the top 5. And even with all the variables in NASCAR, with the variables in NASCAR, all the drivers are still going to be at plus odds to finish in the top 5. I think sometimes at a road course, a couple times last year, we saw some of the good road course drivers like Chase Elliott be at minus odds to finish in the top 5. But usually they're at plus odds, which means you're going to make money. Minus odds usually means that they're the favorite. So if you bet $5, you're not going to get that whole $5 back on your bet, is what you're looking at when you look at minus odds, to dumb it down. So when I look at this race, I am looking at drivers that are going to pay out a lot of money to win and a lot of money to finish in the top 3 or top 5. So there are drivers out there that I think can finish in the top 5, but are not necessarily, I don't have a lot of credence that they're going to win the race. So with Kyle Larson being the favorite, I always like Kyle Larson on any track. I think he has struggled at super speedways, but I also think that he can win on any racetrack, on any given time, on any surface. So I think at plus 1,000 odds, and hopefully everybody can see your bet slip that comes up. So just for example, and like I said, you don't have to play with a lot of money, but for example, if we were to bet $5 on Kyle Larson to win this race, that's going to pay out $55. So you're going to make $50 on that. You're going to get your $5 back. So having said that, if we a top three bet $5 going to pay out $25. Hopefully you can catch on the math, or everybody can catch on with the math. So what I've already done this, and forgive me, I've already placed my bet, so I'm not going to do it again. I'm going to put $5 on Kyle Larson to win this race. I think that for $5 to win this race, this should, and my goal here is to keep this at $50 to keep it reasonable. So we are going to put $5 on Kyle Larson. If he wins, we've already made our money back plus $5. That's a good day, I think, because you get to have fun wagering money and you didn't lose anything. Also, like you said, Joey, sorry, let me move you. Joey Logano is at plus 1,200 to win. I like his odds in this race. I mean, he can win. He showed that in the duel. His car looked good. He drove well. He qualified well. You can't discount Joey Logano right now. He's picking up right where he left off. So I'm going to put $5 on Joey Logano. As we move down, Chase Elliott. I like Chase Elliott's odds to win this as well. So we're going to put 5 on him. Now, those are the race winners that I am going to pick. As we move down the line, Kyle Busch. I think Kyle Busch can win this race today. Or not today, tomorrow. I'm sorry. I think he can win. He hasn't ran well his entire career at super speedways, but I think he's at a new team. I think even though he lost his car, I think they've got the setup right. And in a perfect world, they're going to set that car up exactly the same, and hopefully it has the same feel as, in his words, it was the Daytona 500 winning car. So I don't know if that's going to happen for him, but I'm hoping that it will. So I am going to take Kyle Busch to not only win the race at $5, but also finish in the top 3, which will pay out 25. So having said that, if he wins the race, you get the money back, or you win the money for winning the race and the money for finishing in the top 3. So that would be a $100 payout right there on a $10 bet, essentially. So we are at $25, right? So we have 25 more left to play with. Now, this is where I'm going to move on down the line. Christopher Bell has at plus 2,500 and plus 800 to win. Ryan, do you think that is good odds for him to win or finish in the top 3?
Based about what we've seen Christopher Bell, I mean, he's finished in the top 5 here recently. He was battling to win the duel. I like Christopher Bell in this. The only thing that I'm worried about, Joe, and I've said this before, there's just not a lot of Toyotas. They got to get their strategy right. And it seems like Christopher Bell, more often than not, is on the right strategy, because I think he's got a great crew chief in Adam Stevens.
Yeah, I agree. And you saying that he is competing for the win, or he competed for the win recently, I think Christopher Bell's somebody that could finish in the top 3. I'm a little skeptical for him to win this race, especially if I think that there are some veterans up front that are just going to outrace him. I think that's a possibility, but I still think he's a steal to finish in the top 3. So if we put $5 on him to finish in the top 3, that's going to pay out $45. I think that's a good bet. That gets you near what we're betting out anyway, or wagering today anyway. So that puts us at $30 altogether with all these bets. Now, here's where I think the fun is going to start. I think Martin Truex Jr. is somebody that can win this race. I'm not real confident in his car. I'm not real confident on how well that they performed in qualifying or the duels, but I think Martin Truex can win this race. Martin Truex Jr. can win this race, and he's at plus $3,000 or plus 3,000 odds. Man, I can't talk today. $5 on him pays out $155. If we wager $50 and Martin Truex happens to win this race, we just had a good day. Yeah. And we're putting all kinds of, we're betting on all kinds of drivers here. So it's getting interesting. I'm going to put $5 on Martin Truex Jr. I think he can win this race. And if he's competing for the win, he's either going to win it or he's going to wreck out. So I'm not going to put any money on him to finish in the top 3 or the top 5. So we have $15 left to bet. And here's where I want to get down. I'm going to go ahead and put, my thought is if Kyle Busch and Austin Dillon are running in the top 5, I think I think Kyle Busch wins that, but Austin Dillon's at plus 700 to finish in the top 3. I think that's going to be a good bet if those two team members can link up and they both finish near the top. So we'll put 5 down on him. That's going to pay out $40. So if that scenario works out, here's what you got to kind of play in your mind. Kyle Busch wins the race. You're making the $55 on him winning, or the $75 on him winning. You're making the $25 on him finishing in the top 3. And then you're also making the $40 on top of that for Austin Dillon to finish in the top 3 if he's right there with him. So that's a pretty good payday. So there's a lot of scenarios going on. Now that puts us at $40. We have $10 left to play with. I'm going to go, my final bet here is I'm going to go with Jimmy Johnson to win the race and to finish in the top 3, because these odds for him, a 7-time champion, these odds for him at plus 4,000 and plus 1,300 to win and finish in the top 3 are astronomical to me, and it's almost a gift from DraftKings. That's how I feel about it. Is he going to win this race? I'd say probably not. Legacy Motorsports being a new team, they got a lot of things going on. However, Jimmy Johnson can win this race. He knows how to win this race, and he's one of the best NASCAR drivers of all time. So if you're going to give me plus 4,000 odds on one of the best NASCAR drivers of all time, I'm going to take it. So we're going to put 5 on him to win and 5 on him to finish in the top 3. So if he happens to win the race with that bet right there, you're going to make $275, or your payout's going to be $275. And it'll be a really good time for you to watch this race as it goes on, when you have all this going on and you've only put up $50, and you've increased your odds to at least win your money back. So, and at the end of the day, if you're betting for fun, the best thing you could hope for or a good day is obviously to win money, but it's not a bad day if you break even whenever you're gambling money. They call it gambling for a reason. It's supposed to be fun. And if you could put $50 up and have all that action going on, you're going to enjoy the race one way or the other.
Right. And if I could take it a step further, I'm a guy, as you know, Joe, that I like to pick people with high odds.
Right.
It's just the way I am. I've always been that way when it comes to NASCAR. My best bet, I bet $1 for Michael McDowell to win the race, and it paid $100.
Yeah.
And I just said, you know what? I got $1 left in the account. Let it roll and see what happens. Michael McDowell wins the Daytona 500. So if I was going to go that route on my side of things, I threw down personally $10 on Corey LaJoie, and that pays out 10,000 odds. So that, I mean, you're talking a 500, or excuse me, I put $5 down to win $500.
Yeah, you'd win 505.
Right. So that's the route I'm going, because I will be ecstatic if I wasted $5 and Corey LaJoie even gets close. It will be well worth my $5 to see NASCAR Jesus have a chance at the front of the pack.
Oh,
and he was doing good in the truck race before we went under weather delay. And so we're still waiting on that to see how he ends up doing that. But I go that route. And another 2 drivers that I like with high odds, I believe they were both around 5,000, is Todd Gilliland. And also I like Christopher Buescher, who's a little bit lower. Christopher Buescher's been really, really good for RFK on these super speedways. So
yeah, and like I said, when you talk about wagering on NASCAR, it to me, obviously you place a sports bet on football or basketball. That's so stressful to me, because if you're betting to cover the spread in basketball, and the team that you bet on to cover the spread, if they were favored by 7.5, you bet them to cover the spread, and then at the end of the game, they're up by 12 and decide, hey, there's 35 seconds left in this game. We're not going to play defense. And that team's able to get back within 6, which happens all the time because, it's relatively known it's going to take a lot for them to come back. And the team tries not to extend the game, and they ended up getting it within 7 or 6. And then you just lost your money on the spread on a game that should have been won handily. That's so stressful. Same thing in football. you get that last second 2-point conversion for whatever reason that makes your team not cover the spread, and you just lost money on a game that you should have won. NASCAR's a little bit different, I think. If your driver's running in second place on the last lap and they just miss it, you're going to be on the edge of your seat for that last lap, and you're going to have almost the same amount of adrenaline as the driver's got, just because that's what gambling does, and that's what it's supposed to do, as long as you do it responsibly. And I think that'll be a common theme with our show when we talk about betting tips, because we live in the state of Indiana, Ryan. We live around a casino, and I really, if you don't have the money to wager, don't wager. Just enjoy the race.
Right. We're fun NASCAR fans. I mean, that's why we do this, is because we do it for fun. We're not trying to make a living at this. We're not telling you where you're going to make a living, going off of our bets. We hope you can. We hope you have a good time with it, because that's what we're trying to do. We're not sitting here crunching numbers all day long and telling you this is how it's going to play out. At a track like Talladega, I don't care who you are and how good you think you are. You're not going to predict what happens in this super speedway race.
Right.
No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Daniel Suarez on the backstretch decided he may just want to push your driver into the fence.
Yeah, for no reason. But that's exactly the reason why betting on NASCAR is fun, and that's why everybody has plus odds to even finish in the top 5, because all the variables, we've said that, so it makes it fun, and it makes it really beneficial to you if you happen to get lucky and pick the right driver.
Absolutely right. So let's go ahead and make some money while we watch the Daytona 500 on Sunday. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll have plenty of others. Make sure you check out all the other things we've done. We've done a Daytona preview, so if you want to listen to that, go ahead. We have that for you. If you want to see what we have to say about after the race, we'll have a live stream here on our channel, Stuck in the Catch Fence, on Sunday evening after the race is done. We'll go ahead probably halfway through the race or something like that, depending what it looks like, and let you know, hey, this is the time that we plan on going live. So if you hit the bell icon, you will know whenever we decide to go live. Yes. Joe, you have anything else in conclusion?
No, just if you enjoyed this and you want to stay up to date with betting tips and everything in NASCAR, go ahead and subscribe to our channel. Like this video. It helps our channel grow. We're trying to be an informative channel. We had a prior NASCAR show with a different website, and we've kind of branched off to do our own thing. And like I said, just trying to grow the channel at right now at this point, and hopefully we can all win money together. That's my goal.
Absolutely. And if you want to catch Joe's more extensive picks and why he's choosing those for the Daytona 500, go into the description below. He'll have an entire article wrote for that reason. So my name's Ryan Peters, and for Joe Spillman, this has been Stuck in the Catch Fence. All good things, like Kentucky Speedway, must come to an end. We'll see you on Sunday.